We begin with breaking news. Suspected drug kingpin Ryan Wedding has been arrested in Mexico. The FBI and RCMP scheduled to provide an update on their investigation at some point today. Good afternoon. The 44-year-old former Canadian Olympic snowboarder is alleged to be behind one of the most violent drug trafficking organizations.
He's wanted by the FBI for allegedly running an organization responsible for importing about 60 tons of cocaine a year into the United States. CTV's Kamal Karamali joins us now live from the CTV National Newsroom with more. Kamal, this is big news.
Big news indeed, Nathan and Michelle. A manhunt that has spanned over a decade now apparently coming to a close, with FBI and RCMP expected to announce any minute this afternoon that they have arrested Ryan Wedding, the former Olympic snowboarder turned alleged drug kingpin. What we know is that Kash Patel with the FBI has confirmed that Wedding was captured in Mexico, but little other detail has been released, and we are waiting for this press conference to start. So the 44-year-old from Thunder Bay, Ontario, competed in the 2002 Salt Lake City Winter Olympics, and in the past few years quickly became one of the most notorious drug kingpins, being compared to Pablo Escobar and El Chapo Guzman, allegedly leader of a billion-dollar criminal enterprise that moved tons and tons of cocaine annually into the U.S. and into Canada. Now, I mentioned the RCMP have been on the hunt for Wedding for more than a decade. It began in 2015 when the RCMP first issued an arrest warrant for trafficking cocaine in 2015. And then he went on the run in 2025. That's when the investigation and the search for Ryan Wedding really ramped up, with RCMP coordinating with FBI and Mexican authorities to try and find Ryan Wedding. They knew believed he was in Mexico, but in January of 2025, Wedding was allegedly he was put on FBI's 10 most wanted list, and now he's been arrested according to FBI. Back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Kamal. Now, the FBI and RCMP are holding a joint news conference this hour as we speak. Let's listen in.
But these brave men and women put together a prosecution package, put together an investigative package, put together an operations strategy, and here we are today bringing him to justice for trafficking hundreds of kilos of cocaine and also for the murder of innocent civilians. This individual and his organization and the Sinaloa cartel poured narcotics into the streets of North America and killed too many of our youth and corrupted too many of our citizens. And that ends today. I also want to have a tremendous shout out to the government of Mexico. President Sheinbaum, Secretary Harfuch, and the military and law enforcement officers of Mexico worked hand in glove with our teams on the ground there to apprehend last night in Mexico City Ryan Wedding. I was privileged to be there on a previously planned trip, and this was a great operation that came together through interagency success, because no one behind me and to the side of me cares about credit. They care about putting away the bad guys and safeguarding our communities. That is the leadership that President Trump has brought to the presidency. That is the support that he has brought to law enforcement from coast to coast. And I just can't say how thankful I am to be a small part of this and lead the FBI. These men and women do the hard work. But when you go after a guy like Ryan Wedding, it takes a united front. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing global partnerships from coast to coast. I want to give a special shout out to our ambassador in Mexico. Ambassador Ron Johnson quarterbacked this effort for us from Mexico for a year plus. As soon as he got to post at our new embassy compound there, he made this a priority and he came through. This is what leadership looks like. And this is a historic 2025 year the FBI is having. To put it in perspective, the FBI has had 67,000 arrests this year alone. That is a 200% increase. The FBI has captured 6 of the top 10 most fugitives on our board. The FBI has also seized enough fentanyl to kill 150 million Americans, a 31% increase. The FBI has arrested 35% more espionage corrupt actors from China, Russia, the DPRK, and Iran. The FBI has found and identified 6,000 children that were missing. That is up 22%. All of these historic record-breaking numbers lead to another historic record-breaking number brought to you by President Trump's leadership. That is a 20% decline in the murder rate in the United States of America. That is an all-time record for the modern era. Our communities are safeguarded by these men and women. We are thankful to be partnered with the Department of Justice and the relentless efforts to safeguard our communities by Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. But we're not done today. We're going to get back on the plane, and we've captured and apprehended another top 10 fugitive while we were in Mexico, and we're going to head east and hand him over to local law enforcement authorities. I also want to give a huge shout out to state and local law enforcement. This work is not possible at all without them on the front lines every single day. They are the greatest partners we could ever have, and thank God we have a president who backs the blue. And that is what results look like. Personally, for me at the FBI, I want to thank our hostage rescue team. I want to thank our special flight operations unit. I want to thank our headquarters component, our LA field office. This was an enterprise-wide success. The moving pieces to pull this off and apprehend one of the world's most wanted criminals and bring him to justice in the United States of America can only be done when you have leadership from the top with President Trump, the Attorney General, and all these great leaders here. I'm going to turn it over to the Assistant Director in charge of the Los Angeles Field Office, Akil Davis, for some more comments on the case itself and the investigation.
Thanks, Les. Good morning. My name is Akil Davis. I'm the Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Los Angeles Field Office. We told you in November we would find Mr. Wedding, and today that day has arrived. The long arm of the law extends beyond our borders. This marks the 500th capture of an FBI top 10 fugitive since its inception 75 years ago. I want to congratulate the devoted team effort that led to this capture. Today is a great day for the FBI and for our partners here today, specifically our partners at the RCMP, the LAPD, and the DEA, and so many other agencies at every level. But it's also a good day for the victims of this case. Ryan Wedding tormented several people and several families that will never be the same. But today, they get the justice that they sought. Investigators worked tirelessly for well over a year to find Mr. Wedding, where he will face federal prosecution. As you know, Mr. Wedding and others are charged for their roles in a transnational organized crime network, shipping massive amounts of cocaine, approximately 60 metric tons, through Southern California on its way to Canada. Mr. Wedding is also wanted for orchestrating multiple murders of victims and government witnesses. In addition to the massive manhunt that went into apprehending Mr. Wedding, we worked with State Department to offer rewards, and the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control, which imposed crushing sanctions in this case. This case is also being worked under the auspices of the Homeland Security Task Force here in Los Angeles. I'd like to provide a few details to illustrate the sheer work that has gone into this case. We've arrested 36 people for their role in this organization. Again, we've worked with our Canadian partners, our Mexican partners, our partners in Colombia and the Dominican Republic. The Treasury Department has sanctioned 19 people, including Ryan Wedding himself. We've seen mountain of drugs, cash, weapons. We seized the Mercedes-Benz, estimated over $15 million. We seized dozens of motorcycles worth approximately $40 million, and other valuable artwork and jewelry. Ryan Wedding will be held in custody over the weekend and is anticipated to have his initial appearance on Monday morning. While we're happy about this victory, we have a lot of work ahead of us to prosecute this case and continue our investigation. I want to emphasize we are still seeking multiple individuals wanted for their roles in this organization. The State Department is still offering a $2 million reward for information leading to additional arrests. I ask anyone with information to contact us at 424-494-0614. That number can be called internationally, domestically via WhatsApp, Signal, or Telegram. I also would like to thank, lastly, the Ontario International Airport for making this possible, securing the security of the scene and allowing us to plan this in such a way. Thank you, And I'd now like to turn it over to Chief McDonald of the Los Angeles Police Department.
Thank you, Akil, and thank you all for being here today. The Los Angeles Police Department is proud to stand with our federal, international, and local partners as we announce the arrest of Ryan James Wedding. This has been a coordinated, intelligence-driven investigation into Wedding's global drug trafficking organization, which used Los Angeles as its primary point of distribution. Our collective efforts led to the seizure of more than 2,300 kilograms of cocaine, 44 kilograms of methamphetamine, 44 kilograms of fentanyl, 8 firearms, and over $55 million in illicit assets. This outcome reflects the tireless and seamless collaboration of the FBI, the LAPD, the DEA, and we're joined by Brian Clark here, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Together, we have disrupted a major narcotics pipeline impacting Los Angeles, the United States, and Canada. This is a significant blow to a criminal network that has endangered communities across borders. I want to personally thank the dedicated men and women from every agency represented here, from my own agency, the work of Gang and Narcotics Division particularly. Their relentless commitment over the past 2 years has made this operation possible. Because of their work, Los Angeles is safer, and those responsible are being held accountable. We appreciate our media partners for showing up today on such short notice. Thank you for that. It's now my pleasure to be able to introduce to you the Commissioner of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, Mike Duhem. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to start off by thanking Director Patel for inviting me here on this special occasion. It goes without saying that no single agency or nation can combat transnational organized crime alone. The arrest of Ryan Wedding is the result of strong, trusted partnership. I want to thank the men and women from the FBI, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the U.S. Department of Justice, Los Angeles Police Force, and all the U.S. and Canadian law enforcement that took part in this. They spent countless of hours and many sacrifices to lead us to where we're at here today. And without the results, we can finally say that our communities, our countries are much safer with the arrest of Ryan Wedding. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys. Thanks.
We'll take a few questions. Without getting into operational sensitivities, Ryan Wedding was apprehended last night in Mexico City. And to safeguard the integrity of the ongoing investigation, we will not go into that. But I think it goes without saying, to go down to Mexico, to find a guy who's been on the lam for multiple years for some of the most egregious crimes on planet Earth, takes an interagency-wide effort led out by President Trump, our DOJ, and our partners in Mexico, and very grateful for that partnership. Did you hear her? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Who was the second person? I understand there was a second person.
Unrelated to Mr. Wedding's apprehension, an individual by the name of Mr. Castillo, another top 10 fugitive on the FBI's most wanted list, was apprehended also in Mexico last week. We are going to be transporting him east right after we depart here today. Mr. As the gentleman stated, Mr. Wedding is in custody already. He was transported off the plane. Sorry. The indictment stems from the Los Angeles U.S. Attorney's Office, so the investigators, the police, will handle that appropriately in that jurisdiction. This arrest was a success of interagency law enforcement putting itself to the max every single day relentlessly. We will not comment on anyone regarding the rewards. We'll take one more question. Sorry, I can't hear you. Well, we came to Ontario because the weather's pretty nice here, but we also have to maximize operational security. We make these decisions jointly with our partners who run these airports. We make these decisions jointly with the local police force and our interagency officers. There are trigger points and earmarks that we have to meet to safely transport an individual of the level and caliber of Ryan Wedding. And so that collective decision was made to ensure the security of both the transportation and the federal transfer of custody that the FBI executed, and also to ensure the safety of his confinement and ultimate prosecution. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right, that was FBI Director Kash Patel speaking in California. Now, he's at the Ontario International Airport. It's just east of L.A. in California. And he announced that Ryan Wedding was apprehended last night in Mexico City. Now, he is accused of running a multi-billion-dollar drug empire. You might remember that name. And he's also accused of being linked to several murders. They're calling this a joint operation with the help from Mexican officials, the FBI, the RCMP, Colombian and Dominican Republican officials as well. But the bottom line, they're saying this one-year manhunt for this former Olympic snowboarder, Canadian, has ended, and he's going to appear in court Monday. Others are still outstanding.
And his alleged impact on Canada is extensive. The U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi had said that he was the largest cocaine trafficker in Canada, and certainly we've had some horrific cases in Ontario linked to him. You might remember those Caledon murders, the Sadu family, a husband and wife mistakenly gunned down in their rented home, their daughter injured. So definitely a trail of destruction, mass amounts of cocaine being imported allegedly from Colombia into Mexico, then into the U.S. and here in Canada. This was an extensive search for him. The man known as El Jefe, which is Spanish for the boss, now behind bars.
We're going to turn now to the frigid cold weather expected in our city this weekend. We're bracing for some of the coldest temperatures we've seen in years.
We are under a cold warning right now, right across the region, with extreme wind chill values, making it even colder. And then we're anticipating a big dumping of snow expected to hit our city over the weekend. Let's bring in Beth McDonnell, who joins us now with more on how people are dealing with and preparing for these elements. Beth.
Winter is expected to be in full force tonight and over the weekend. Thinking about winter so much. First, with bitter cold temperatures that we haven't seen in years, and then a possible snowstorm over the weekend. We are at a Canadian Tire talking about being prepared. People are picking up shovels and stocking up on salt. If you're leaving the house, have outdoor plans, or are traveling in your vehicle, you may want to listen up with these terrible cold temperatures coming. First up, you want to bundle up. It's very important to put on layers and cover exposed skin. Frostbite can hit your fingertips, toes, and face within 10 to 30 minutes. And if you're driving somewhere, being prepared is also key. CAA recommends having an emergency kit, a blanket, phone charger to call for help, snacks, and water, because if something bad happens in awful conditions, you want to be ready, warm, and safe.
Oh my God, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. I stay home most of the time because I can't get out and it's so slippery and everything, right?
Getting out and about, doing shopping, whatever the wife needs me to do. Keeping maintaining the house during the wintertime, snowing, build up on the sidewalk, making sure my neighbors are helped out.
Think about what you're doing before you go to do it. Make sure you're dressed properly. It's all about prevention here. Make sure your facial areas are covered. Make sure you're well hydrated. Certainly alcohol and this weather in the evening. Don't mix at all. Really don't mix at all. Your judgment is impaired. It's easy to fall and slip and prolong your time outdoors.
Batteries only really last around 3 to 5 years. So, you know, maybe this morning, take a little thought, think, how long has it been since I had my battery replaced or tested? And then, you know, plan ahead accordingly, because you certainly don't want to be caught out in this.
Grinding or clicking could be a sign your battery is having trouble. CAA says even if your battery is brand new, it can act up if we're having these cold temperatures. And with all this bad weather expected, the mayor is actually doing an update this afternoon at 2:30 p.m. Reporting live, I'm Beth McDonnell. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. We're calling it Frigid Friday, a live shot of our skyline. At least there's some sun in the mix, but it's not warming things up at all. It is dangerously cold. Lindsay Morrison is monitoring all the specifics with regards to this weather event. What do you you seeing, Lindsay?
Well, Michelle, there is so much to talk about. We will get to the Sunday snowstorm a little later in our newscast. Let's begin with what's happening now. We have entered the deep freeze. Environment Canada issuing this widespread cold warning. It is a yellow level alert for us here in the city of Toronto. Look at these expected wind chills through the night tonight. Minus 40 is what it's going to feel like in some parts of southern Ontario overnight. Right now, it is minus 14 degrees at Pearson Airport, but it feels like minus 26. Winds out of the west, direct westerly wind, gusting close to 60 kilometers per hour. Another windy day, contributing once again to snow squall activity, flurries and blowing snow. In fact, we've got blowing snow conditions areas to the west of Toronto, but around the GTA as well. We're going to tap into more of a northwesterly wind as the day goes on. That's going to change who's being impacted by these snow squalls, but these are the watches and warnings that are in effect right now. That change in wind direction also going to usher in even colder Arctic air. So overnight tonight, we are forecasting a low in Toronto of minus 22 degrees. It's going to feel like minus 30. And of course, that introduces the risk of frostbite. It's not going to be quite as cold in the long range, but no signs of a warm up throughout the rest of January and the early part of February. We're going to take you through your 7-day forecast coming up. For now, Michelle, though, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. A group of Ontario civil servants and their supporters took part in a rally this morning over the province's decision to end hybrid and remote work arrangements for the public service.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! RTO has got to go! Hey, hey!
Ontario Public Service Employees Union members speaking out against the return to office mandate. OPSU President J.P. Hornick says the decision requiring 5 days in-person work was imposed without consultations and doesn't benefit Ontarians or civil servants.
These workers' voices have been ignored. We have over 10,000 alternative work accommodation forms that have gone in as a result of this ridiculous mandate, forcing people back to work 5 days a week, acting like they haven't been working 5 days a week for years. The hybrid work works. There is no need for this new mandate to force people back into offices that in some cases don't even exist.
Premier Doug Ford has said he wants government employees back in the office full-time so they can be mentored and collaborate. Meanwhile, the Ontario Hospital Association says hospitals are making cuts in the face of rising deficits. The association says the sector faces a deficit of $1 billion. The Ministry of Health asked hospitals last year to come up with a 3-year plan to balance their budgets. Hospitals were told to immediately implement any low-risk cost-saving moves they could come up with. But the head of the OHA says that was already happening. Anthony Dale says closing non-core inpatient services and consolidating programs may be next.
In Australia, a preliminary assessment has been completed on the body of a Canadian teenager found on a beach earlier this week. An autopsy has found physical evidence consistent with drowning, and dingo bites are not likely to have caused Piper James' death. Her body was discovered surrounded by a number of wild dogs. Officials are now awaiting pathology results, which are expected to take several weeks. Global Affairs Canada is providing consular assistance to the family of the 19-year-old from Campbell River, BC. She was in Australia on a backpacking trip with a friend.
Ukrainian, Russian, and U.S. envoys met in the United Arab Emirates today, the first known instance that the Trump administration has sat down with both countries. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said this week that a potential peace deal was nearly ready, but certain sensitive sticking points remain, most notably territorial issues. The talks follow recent diplomatic activity despite Russia continuing its attacks on Ukraine, leaving parts of the country without power amid a bitterly cold winter. These trilateral talks could be a significant step as the U.S. presses for a halt to the war. The meeting concludes tomorrow. Well, if you're planning to brave the frigid temperatures here in the GTA this weekend, there are some transit disruptions to keep in mind. Starting at 11 tonight, there'll be no subway service on Line 1 between St. George and St. Andrew stations. TTC crews will be carrying out planned station work, and shuttle buses will not be running. Riders heading downtown can instead transfer to the Yonge side of the line or take the bus. Regular service resumes Monday. And similar to last weekend, Metrolinx is adjusting service on the Lakeshore West line as it replaces the Etobicoke Creek Bridge. Trains will run in 2 sections between Niagara Falls and Oakville Go, and once an hour between Mimico and Union. Replacement buses will bridge the gap, but they'll only stop at Oakville, Clarkson, and the Union Station bus terminal, with no GO service at Port Credit or Long Branch. Lindsay.
Well, this extreme cold isn't impacting just us here in southern Ontario. Take a look. The temperature right now in parts of Saskatchewan in the -30s. And it's not just Canada. The extreme cold extending into the southern United States. And we're starting now to see the development of this historic ice storm that is expected over the weekend. Yes, this is the same low that is expected to bring us some snow here in southern Ontario. So this is going to be a Sunday weather event, squalls and system snow expected for us, with possible impacts into Monday morning. We'll take you through the 7-day forecast after this break here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
All right, to the fourth forecast now. This is really the time of year where you got to pull out all the stops because the temperature is just continuing to plummet as we speak.
And it's not going to let up this weekend. And then we have a little surprise at the end of the weekend, more snow. It's a lot. People have winter plans and they want to know, can we go ahead with them? It is very cold.
Yeah, we've already seen some cancellations when it comes to festivities in and around the city of Toronto because the weather is just considered a little too dangerous for spending time outside, or perhaps for those who have to travel. This is especially a concern into Sunday, the travel aspect. Fortunately, this latest snowstorm that we're tracking is going to fall on a weekend, so less impactful for the weekday rush, although Monday morning still raises some questions. But it's tonight and tomorrow that we are especially concerned about this extreme cold. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. And of course, this now has us talking about frostbite, and with the wind chills we are expecting in and around Toronto, which is close to -30, it is worth mentioning that the risk of frostbite is high and exposed skin can freeze in as little as 10 to 30 minutes. So you do want to take care at any point, starting now, continuing throughout the weekend. It is -14 degrees this hour at Pearson Airport, but it feels like -26, and you can see just how cold it is in other parts of our province, feeling like -41 this hour in places like Thunder Bay and Timmins. Afternoon temperature, so we're going to fall a little further to about -15 degrees before the afternoon is finished, and then into the night tonight. This is when things get bitterly cold. A simple reminder that our seasonal average is -2 degrees. We are well below that. Interestingly enough, though, it's not record cold. We would need to see the core temperature fall to -31 degrees in order for that to be the case. But doesn't matter. This is still very cold. Wind chill values near -31 is what we are expecting, and an overnight low into the -20s in most parts of the GTA. Waking up tomorrow morning, your Saturday morning, maybe skip the early AM run. This is not going to be comfortable. I know people who had skiing plans, perhaps rethinking for this weekend, because that is bitterly cold, uncomfortable, and of course, in many cases, dangerous. So this gives you an idea of the last time it has been this cold. It's been several years for us here in the GTA since we've had a cold snap quite this cold. Cold warnings issued by Environment Canada. And then there's the conditions part of our forecast, the active weather. Snow squall watches and warnings remain in place around southern Georgian Bay, as well as Lake Huron. City of Guelph just recently included in this special weather statement warning of blowing snow, reducing visibility out on the roads. So even ahead of Sunday, we are seeing snow in many parts of southern Ontario with this ongoing snow squall event. I'm happy to say that winds are finally going to ease as we make our way into the day on Saturday, but we're going to tap into a northwest wind first, so that again changes the direction of these squalls. It ushers in the colder air. Just going to pause this here for Sunday to show you that in addition to the system snow, which you can start to see approaching from the south, we expect easterly winds to trigger some snow squalls. So that's going to give us the first round of snow, and and then you can see just how widespread this becomes. Sunday afternoon, tapering off into Sunday night, but impacts still expected, especially for the early morning drive on Monday. Still a little bit early, but at this point, we have to prepare for the possibility of 20 centimeters of snow once again. And once again, some of the hardest hit areas could see more than that. This is the 7-day forecast. Just want to point out that next week, while some improvements happen with the temperature, we remain quite cold through to next weekend as well. That's your look at the weather. Michelle, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, CTV's investigative unit W5 returns this Saturday with a haunting hour-long special, If I'm Ever Found Dead.
This explosive investigation follows the murder of a 23-year-old Canadian woman at a Mexican resort 3 years ago. Her boyfriend, who was found sleeping next to her, was charged and found not guilty, and her family continues to fight for justice. Joining us in studio to talk about the W5 special is host and managing editor Avery Haynes. Avery, lots to talk about here. Let's start off with this murder. What were the circumstances?
So both Ryan and Kira traveled to Mexico. It was her first time ever outside of Canada, her first big trip in 2023. And 12 hours after checking into the resort, her body was found beaten to death in the resort laundry room. And sleeping beside her body was her boyfriend, Ryan Friesen. Swollen fists, blood in the fingernails, blood on his feet, bruises on his body as well. And he was immediately charged with femicide, the most serious crime of domestic violence in Mexico. And her family was told this is a slam dunk case. We don't think there's anyone else involved. And they believed that there would be a guilty verdict.
What was his defense in this?
His defense was the lawyers presented two experts, one that said that under her fingernails, there was none of Ryan Friesen's DNA, but there was an unidentified profile under her fingernails. And that the way that she was beaten so severely that there's no way that one person could have committed the crime. For the prosecution, they presented evidence that she had been that their relationship had a long history of domestic violence. Her diary was entered as evidence, including one entry that talked about him being drunk, beating her, falling asleep beside her, and when he woke up in the morning, didn't realize what had happened until he saw her face and the injuries on her face.
So you went back to the scene of the crime. You even spoke to a member of the Sinaloa family cartel. What did you find out?
Well, many of the family members believe that the not guilty verdict is the wrong verdict. So they've been holding protests across the country. 2 years after Kira's death, Ryan Friesen held a private meeting with some of Kira's family members, and we spoke to one person who was in that meeting. And it was there where this theory was presented that Kira was killed in a narco execution, that the cartel targeted that resort because they didn't pay a cartel tax. And so when we went back to Mexico to investigate and we interviewed the first people on the scene, we also interviewed a member of the Sinaloa cartel, which has control of the Mayan Riviera and that area of Playa del Carmen, Cancun, and asked him point blank, does the cartel ever carry out an execution of a tourist in order to send a message to the resort? He said, absolutely not. He said, I know that story because he claimed to be in jail at the same time Ryan Friesen is, as he was waiting trial. And he said that if the cartel wants to send a message, it's very public, it's not on a resort, and it's not targeting a tourist, that if foreigners ever get injured, it's because they're caught in the crossfire or they're somehow doing business with the cartel.
Wow. I have so many questions about how you meet up with a cartel member, how you find them, but I do want to talk about Kira's family and they want justice. What are their efforts at this stage?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, this was an absolutely beautiful young woman. As she was making this trip, she was sending videos to her sister. So we have all those videos in this documentary, including her final video of her standing on her balcony at the resort, talking about how excited she was to go to the beach. The family has been carrying out these protests, demanding the government in Mexico, the judicial system, look at this case. And what we learned when we went to Mexico is that the case against Ryan Friesen is not necessarily over.
Oh, that's a cliffhanger. You're going to have to watch this. W5's Avery Haynes joining us now. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And here's the details now. You can watch the special. It's called If I'm Ever Found Dead this Saturday night at 7 p.m. It's right here on CTV, the W5 YouTube channel as well, and it's streaming on Crave.
After the break, he's back. Mitch Marner will hit the ice at Scotiabank Arena tonight for the first time since leaving the Leafs. We'll hear how he feels about being home and how he thinks the fans will react to his return. A familiar face will be back on the ice at Scotiabank Arena tonight, but he won't be wearing the blue and white.
Mitch Marner returning to the city as a member of the Vegas Golden Knights for the first time since leaving the Leafs in the offseason. CTV's Mike Walker has been speaking with fans gearing up for Marner's return and joins us live now from Scotiabank Arena. How are they feeling, Mike?
Well, Michelle and Nathan, this is the most anticipated regular season game. We've been speaking with many fans who have circled the state on the calendar. They have traveled from across the country and beyond to witness Mitch Marner's return to Toronto. Now, the big question, of course, is how will the fans react when Marner steps on the ice? What sort of reception will he receive? When he plays for the first time in Toronto after opting to sign with Vegas in the summer, ending his 9-year tenure with the Buds. And during that time, Marner had 741 points, ranking him 6th on the Leafs all-time point list. But he was also scrutinized by fans and analysts for the Leafs' failures in the playoffs. Now, when the Leafs did play the Golden Knights last week in Vegas, the contingent of Leaf fans there did boo Marner every time he touched the puck. So that's the question we posed to fans attending to tonight's game. And just this morning, we heard from Marner. He spoke with reporters and said he doesn't want to look back on the past.
Don't want to look back anymore. Don't want to look in the past. You know, I feel like if you look back, you know, you'll not focus on what's in front of you. So it's another hockey game to just go out there and play and, you know, try to do what you usually do to help win a hockey game.
A lot of booing for sure.
Why is that?
I don't know, just like hometown kid, like everyone thought he'd, you know, retire here, left. Like, I don't think the fans liked it very much, so.
I think there'll be people that love him and miss him, and I think there'll be people that don't like him, and I'm sure a jersey or two will be thrown.
Nobody likes losing their hometown hero, right? So everybody was a big Marner fan. He left on his own terms. We would have liked to have got something in return with the Rantanen trade, maybe if he had accepted that.
Now, a video tribute for Marner is expected ahead of tonight's game. As for his former teammates, they expect this to be an emotional and intense game. Leafs netminder Joseph Wall saying that he hopes that the response is a positive one. And aside from all this emotion, this is also a very important game for the Leafs, currently sitting 3 points out of the final playoff spot in the East. Reporting live outside Scotiabank Arena, Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. The Scepters were on the West Coast last night visiting the Vancouver Golden Knights.
Daniel comes back up with it. Gets it over to Gardner. Gardner in front to Daniel, scores!
It was a tough first trip to Vancouver for Toronto, falling 5-0, with former Scepters goalie Kristen Campbell making 24 saves for the shutout. The Scepters will now head to Montreal to take on the Victoire on Wednesday, their final contest before the Olympic break.
Canadian tennis phenom Victoria Mboko is headed to the 4th round of the Australian Open.
It's a really brilliant point.
The 19-year-old from Burlington outlasted 14th-seeded Clara Tauson of Denmark to reach the final 16 of a Grand Slam for the first time in her career. Mboko, the 17th seed, had 6 aces, but had to work through 9 double faults. She also broke on 5 of her 13 chances and won 65% of her first serve points. It'll be a tough next test for Mboko, taking on world #1 Aryna Sabalenka tomorrow.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Turning now to the latest headlines making waves on social media this week, from some celebrity family drama to a famous singer announcing his new global tour and what that means for Canada. Joining us now for our weekly segment, Chronically Online, is Sam East, weekday afternoon host with 99.9 Virgin Radio. Good to see you, Sam. So, this Beckham family, they seem to be bending out of shape, totally dysfunctional. What is going on?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are very invested in this. Yes, because there's name recognition there. We know the Beckhams, but also it almost feels reminiscent of perhaps some family drama that you might know of. So the Beckhams, famous family, we know that. Their son, Brooklyn, put out a statement, a lengthy one that seemed like a tell-all, and it was full of bombshells. Here's just some of what it said. I've been silent for years and made every effort to keep these matters private. Unfortunately, my parents and their team have continued to go to the press, leaving me with no choice but to speak for myself and tell the truth about only some of the lies that have been printed. I do not want to reconcile with my family. I'm not being controlled. I'm standing up for myself for the first time. For my entire life, my parents have controlled narratives in the press about our family. The performative social media posts, family events, inauthentic relationships have been a fixture of the life I was born into. And he went on to say, my parents have been trying endlessly to ruin my relationship since before my wedding. It's a very lengthy statement. We can't read the whole thing, but he did go on to detail this awkward moment he claims happened at his wedding where his mom, Victoria, aka Posh Spice, interrupted what would have been a romantic dance between him and his wife to, he says, inappropriately dance. And, you know, it's a big mess. The Beckham family has not fully responded. But what people are saying is, to rectify this, the only solution is that the Spice Girls should go on a world tour.
That's what, therapy?
It's a way to distract the world from the mess, the chaos that's happening.
Maybe. Okay, so we would benefit from that. So what about Harry Styles? Talented, he has that star quality. He's announced he's going to be going on tour. Is that good news for Canada?
Great news for Harry Styles fan, not so much if you're a Canadian on a budget, because Harry Styles is doing this residency style. He's put out a new album that's coming out in a couple months. Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally is the name of the album. And he's going on the Together Together world tour. And as a fan, you're thinking, oh, that's great. I get to see him. You're going to have to travel because there are dates all over the world, but it's residency style, meaning he's doing multiple dates in select cities across the world. Notably, he's doing not one, not two, not three, but 30, Nathan, 30 shows in New York at Madison Square Garden.
Over a span. Go ahead.
So if, you know, you're a big fan of Harry Styles and you're based here in Toronto, that is probably going to be your best bet, given that there's so many shows. But I'm telling you, it's going to sell out so quickly, so you're going to have to act fast.
I hope he doesn't tire himself out. All right, Sam East from 99.9 Virgin Radio. Great talking to you. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Well, he's young, he can manage. Well, the Building Industry and Land Development Association is warning that plummeting sales of new homes in the GTA could have a ripple effect on thousands of jobs. The group says last year was the worst on record. There were just over 5,300 new homes sold locally. Single-family home sales were 63% below from the 10-year average, while new condo sales were 89% below the 10-year average. The association says the collapse in new home construction is putting 100,000 jobs at risk here in Ontario. It's calling for the elimination of the HST on all new homes to lower the cost of housing and get buyers back into the market. Coming up on CTV News at noon, ooh, you're going to like this. We'll take you inside the National Service Dogs Organization and introduce you to 19 new arrivals who will soon be helping humans in need. Stay with us. A nonprofit dog training organization west of the city is looking for some love for 19 puppies who will one day be life-changing companions.
The agency says the pups will soon be ready to spend a year with volunteer dog raisers before they are officially put into service.
There's nothing that you need to be a puppy raiser. You just need to have time and patience and a commitment to helping raise these little guys for the first year of their life, but there's no dog experience needed, no other requirements sort of that way, just the time and love to give to these guys.
These adorable furry friends will go on to help a variety of people, from children with autism to military service members and first responders who are living with PTSD. They're so cute. They're currently spending 8 weeks with volunteers helping prepare the dogs for their eventual life of service.
We know that there are clients out there that really need these dogs. When we think of people that have PTSD from the military or first responders and they haven't been able to leave the house, and when they get one of these NSD dogs, they're able to leave their house and be more involved in the community. So with that in mind, we just continue supporting NSD in terms of volunteering and financially supporting them as well.
Anyone interested can reach out to National Service Dogs in Cambridge. Aww.
So cute. And I'm thinking if you're walking the dog, short walks, not too long outside.
Yeah, this feels like a good opportunity to remind any pet owners that this is a night to bring your pets inside for sure, really all weekend long. We've got more snow in the forecast. There is already snow falling in some areas, different kind of snow squalls. Here's a look at the satellite and radar. You may be dealing with some blowing snow conditions depending on where you are as well. Just a reminder, we are dropping to a low of minus 22 degrees tonight. It's going to feel like minus 31. Tomorrow's high, minus 12. That's an improvement from what it was looking like yesterday, but still very cold, and we do have snow on the way. That's what it's going to look like into the day on Sunday. Here's your weekend forecast. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.